If you are too stressed to sleep, it's because you're breathing wrong. I know it sounds crazy because we breathe all day, but how you breathe has a huge impact on how you sleep. So in this video, I'm gonna walk through 6 ways that I was breathing incorrectly and how fixing those things helped my sleep. And I hope they help yours as well. No one thinks that they're breathing wrong. I know I didn't, but here's the thing. Just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're doing it correctly. And what I've learned is that bad breathing habits during the day spill over to bad breathing habits at night. Bad breathing habits at night can rob you of the full restorative power of your sleep. Rapid, shallow breathing cycles can trigger something called our fight or flight response. So this is where a bunch of hormones kick into gear and say, run away or put up your dukes. This can lead to things like insomnia if that happens right when you fall asleep. So when you lie down in bed at the end of a stressful, exhausting day, fast, shallow breathing kind of puts your body into an overexcited state. That's the opposite of the quiet calm that you really need to drift off. And to make matters worse, when you don't drift off, anxiety can escalate. So you end up with more cortisol, which has less likelihood of you falling asleep. So I've organized together what I call my 6 bad breath habits that I see people doing all the time, including myself. Let's take a look. Bad breath habit number 1, taking it for granted. Breathing is one of the most crucial bodily functions that we've got. It converts sugar into energy, it can quiet anxiety and reduce stress, it supports the immune system, and it delivers nutrients to hungry cells and takes out the body's trash. Knowing all of that, why wouldn't you make an effort to boost your breathing skills? I'm not asking you to make major changes. Small tweaks will bring big rewards, especially as you get older. The first minor adjustment to make is to kind of flip the mental switch and stop thinking of breathing as the body's job. Instead, think of it as a superpower that you can master and a skill that you can use to improve not only your health and wellness, but also your sleep. Bad breath habit number 2, breathing too shallow. We draw life-sustaining oxygen into our lungs to be distributed via the bloodstream throughout the body. That single crucial objective is compromised by shallow breaths. Remember, shallow breaths are when we take in little puffs of air, mostly through the mouth, using the ribs' intercostal muscles in a pattern called thoracic breathing. Along with reduced oxygen intake, shallow breathing can be associated with anxiety attacks. Remember, your breath will control you unless you learn how to control it. If your current breathing style is to inhale little puffs into your chest, you take in less oxygen and, believe it or not, you clog the lymphatic system. You could also exacerbate a panic attack in progress or trigger a new one. Instead, you want to take deep breaths using your nose. You were designed to breathe primarily through your nose. It's just a more efficient and effective way to take in oxygen and to expel carbon dioxide. It also warms the air as it's coming in, which, by the way, your lungs really appreciate. Bad breath habit number 3, breathing too high. Quick exercise, take a breath. Do your shoulders rise? When you exhale, do they fall? If so, you are vertical breathing into the top of your lungs and leaving the middle and lower parts high and dry. You're not taking in as much oxygen as you could, and you're probably potentially allowing excessive mucus to build up in the lower parts of your lungs. Also, by breathing vertically, you rely on upper body muscles like the ones in your chest, shoulders, back, and neck. Overuse of those muscle groups can actually cause stiffness and aches, which you could end up with the next morning. Whenever I see someone rubbing their neck or shoulders, my first thought is they need to breathe horizontally. No matter how many massages you get or Epsom salt baths you take, if you breathe vertically up and down, your upper body muscles are going to be overworked. Instead, you want to breathe using your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is a muscle located just below the lungs that help them pull in air. To use your diaphragm to breathe, you want to practice what's called belly breathing. So do me a favor, place a hand on your stomach just under the belly button and breathe through your nose slowly, making your hand rise and fall without holding your breath. You want to exhale slowly, engaging your core to draw your belly button towards your spine. To make sure that you aren't engaging your rib muscles, do me a favor and take the other hand and put it over your heart. It shouldn't move while you're practicing belly breathing. Bad breath habit number 4, breathing too fast. Another bad breath habit is just breathing plain old too quickly. In a healthy body, a person's at-rest breathing rate is 12 to 20 breaths per minute at medium depth, bringing in several liters of oxygen at a time. Healthy people ordinarily inhale for 1 or 2 seconds and then exhale for 2 or 3 seconds. So a typical cycle lasts 3 to 5 seconds. Having these numbers and an awareness about the speed of your breathing can help you mindfully slow things down. Fast breathing isn't really a choice. It's either a sign of respiratory limitation or it's a habit. But breathing problems can be treated and habits can be broken. Speed of breathing is a key area that you can train yourself to improve and reap the benefits of emotional regulation as well as stress reduction. What helped me breathe more slowly was to practice some breathing techniques. My two favorite, and by the way, I've got articles and videos about both of these, are 4-7-8 breathing and something called box breathing. Let me explain. 4-7-8 breathing is exactly what it sounds like. You breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for a count of 7, and you breathe out for a count of 8. 10 to 12 cycles of this will help immediately lower your heart rate and begin the relaxation process. By the way, this is a technique that I use in the beginning of the night or even if I wake up in the middle of the night. Another one that's a little bit easier to start with is called box breathing. Here, you only have to remember the number 4. So you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for a count of 4, you breathe out for a count of 4, and you hold for a count of 4. That's kind of the circular way that you go about doing this. And I will tell you that if you can't accomplish the 4-7-8, which by the way, I couldn't when I first started, box breathing is a great place to start. Bad breath habit number 5, too mouthy. Another mistake is breathing through your mouth. As a rule, the mouth is for eating and the nose is for breathing. The biggest danger to sleeping with your mouth open isn't bad breath, oral yeast infection, gum disease, or cavities, although to be clear, those are all potential outcomes. It's metaphorically letting the flies in. Literally every floating germ, dust mite, or environmental toxin has a golden invitation to enter your mouth and throat if you breathe with your mouth open or you sleep with your mouth open. Because mouth breathing dries and irritates your throat, it can also cause little micro tears, which by the way is the ideal home for bacteria and viruses to nestle into. Mouth breathing opens the barn door literally to viral and bacterial infections, and it's just a less efficient way to draw air into the lungs. As with breathing too shallow, the solution here is to focus on your nose to breathe. All right, last one, bad breath habit number 6 is holding your breath. Unintentional breath holding happens when people are nervous or they're anticipating bad news or scary feelings. The last time I found myself holding my breath, I was about to open an email from my doctor with test results that I've been waiting for. Can any of you relate to something like that? It's common for people to hold their breath in high-pressure situations, such as meetings or even during exams. Whether anxious or focused, people tend to clench their muscles, including the respiratory ones. Imagine walking down a dark street and suddenly hearing a suspicious noise. The first thing you do is freeze and you stop breathing. It's a natural reflex, kind of like a cat freezing in place right before it pounces on a toy. That pause, a built-in part of the stress response, gives you a second to decide, what's it gonna be? Am I putting up the dukes or am I taking off? Accidentally holding your breath, which happens when you concentrate hard or are scared or surprised, instantly sends you into fight or flight mode and triggers this cortisol release. Remember, too much cortisol causes a hormonal imbalance. That hormonal imbalance is why you feel too stressed when you go to sleep. We're aiming for whole body balance, what I call homeostasis, which means regulating the stress response, not triggering it. The solution here? Pay attention to when you're holding your breath. You are probably doing it way more than you realize. Once you start to notice you're doing it, you'll start to automatically start breathing normally again and feel a whole lot better. Now, my guess is you're guilty of one or more of these bad breath habits. I know I was actually guilty of 3. And honestly, I took my breathing for granted just like everyone else. But how you breathe is so important to your overall sleep that I made it one of the 3 dominoes of health in my new book, Sleep, Drink, Breathe. I don't know about you, but I think wellness has become way too complicated. So I wanted to create a simple guide to the 3 everyday things that you should be doing to maximize your energy as well as your longevity. This book will not only give you more detail on the importance of breathing, but it will also teach you exactly how to fix these 6 habits and, in the process, feel healthier, more energized, and get better sleep. I've got more info in my book right here, so do me a favor and come check it out. This is Dr. Michael Bruce, the Sleep Doctor, wishing you sweet dreams.